Welcome, everybody. It's so incredibly wonderful to see you here. And I almost thought about doing a fake background because I don't want people looking in my room and saying, I don't even know what that thing is in the background, or there's no way that I would, because none of that matters. None of that is important. What's important, a lot of what's important is what we're doing right now, connecting with people. But what's important is what you know and what you bring to the table as an individual composer, musician, person. So I'm literally just kind of like fumbling around with different chords. Oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I might figure out a melody that works with those specific chords. But I have to get a tempo and a vibe and harmonies going before I start hearing a melody in my head. And the melody is always somehow outlining the chords. That doesn't mean you need to do what I do. It just means that I'm a drummer and I'm doing it backwards. So there's no right or wrong way. It just all is based on the final result. That's if you have the whole orchestra play one unison note. Once you start doing chords and you start doing melodies, I mean, think of all the extra overtones that are playing. That's why things need to be EQ'd, because you end up getting a buildup of all these frequencies, and no library, regardless of how it's sampled or built, can make your piece of music sound like it was recorded live, because it's only being mixed for the one note to sound great. The horns are doing a two-part harmony, the trumpets are doubling kind of the lead line up an octave higher, and everybody else is doing big fat triads underneath. And you see the space between the notes. That's because brass players have to breathe. They would naturally be playing that way. I came across this ad, which I thought was hysterical. I mean, $175,000 for a 40-voice Fairlight in like 1985. Thankfully, we're not there anymore. Really, none of it matters today because everything's being done in the computer, regardless of whether it has live musicians or not. If not anything else, just because everything's so much more affordable. What it all comes down to, whether you're reaching out or they're reaching out, is communicating. Because it's either just one single person, like an audio director, or a team of people who are talking together, and they're just making a game and trying to find the right match for their music. So the last thing I would ever do is just start throwing music over the fence and going, what do you think about this? Hey, great. Here, check out my next. I always want to talk with them and find out everything I can about not only the audio director and what kind of music they like, but like the vibe of the game, what they feel like good emotions would be. If I can get them on the phone or Zoom or something like that, I say to them, I'm not pitching music to you. I'm not just sending you music to listen to. I'm treating this like you've already hired me, and I don't mean that in an egotistical sort of way. I want you to understand how I work, and I'm going to do some preliminary ideas and send them to you. Now, if you have time, I would love to get feedback on those initial ideas and then kind of tweak the music according to your feedback. If you don't have time, I completely understand. They're always like, oh, really? Yes, that would be amazing. Because everyone seems to think that composers are really busy and they don't want to take up more of their time, and just asking them to write music without paying them for it. I use Soothe a lot as well, which is a really wonderful kind of smart. I think there might be a little bit of AI going on in the background, but it's based on... So this is what it's taking out. You can kind of set a general target and it will apply sort of what you're emphasizing. So these are all regular phrased melodies. Some are slightly longer, but hopefully you can see how there's a little bit of repetition. And I am used to listening to classical composers, which John Williams bases all of his stuff on. So like you never repeat anything really more than 2 or 3 times at the most. And usually the third time you're doing something, you're changing it up. And if you're on the 4th time, you need to wrap it up with a bow and do something completely different. That's what all of these themes do. Well, thanks for being here. We'll see you in a couple of days. And this is an absolute blast for me. I can't wait to start again in 2 days.